I'm Matt Lamar, and we got Jason Van Meter from Van Meter Sun Lures, and Darren Ballard is kind of like the hunting guru for Van Meter Sun Lures. They kind of teamed up this year, so we're all going to kind of go over an introduction of what the show is going to be about, what the expectations for the show is going to be, what we're going to cover, and all that type of stuff. I originally started Hoosier Harvest Outdoors in 2018. Been filming hunts for 4 years now. Yeah, 4 years going into 5 years. Kind of took a little bit of a break to work on some other stuff that I had going on with YouTube on a different hobby. But 2023, I'm going to come back. I talked to Jason, about 2 months ago, probably. We discussed it. Mm-hmm. And I talked about bringing the live show back, and then I knew that Jason was wanting to kind of take Van Meter Sun Lures kind of the next level. And then we got to talking. It's like, hey, why not just get on here and let's talk about whitetails together? So
that's right.
That's kind of where that all evolved. Super happy that Jason kind of asked me to, kind of tech lead this whole operation, which kind of had a hiccup in the beginning, but we're good now. So let's talk a little bit about like what the show is going to be about, the Van Meter Sun Lures brand, where Darren comes into this, because I know we also got some harvest to talk about that you guys harvested this past deer season that were phenomenal harvest. And Darren's going to get in a little bit about how he uses the Van Meter Sun Lures brand. And when Jason and I talk about doing this show, the whole aspect of this show is to learn. It's about teaching hunters to be better hunters.
Right. Absolutely.
Not necessarily looking for certain class of deer that harvest. It's more about making you a better hunter, more successful hunter. So Jason, kind of just lead us into the Van Meter Sun Lures brand for some people that are Hoosier Harvest Outdoors followers that might not know about your brand and that type of stuff.
Well, I just want to say that I appreciate everyone viewing tonight. I also want to say I appreciate everyone's business since 2007 when we come on the market. It's been an exciting ride over the years. I tell the son all the time, Caleb, you're going to have to get in here and get with me. And he does, but he's still young yet. And actually, the deer behind us is his deer. I told him, I said, man, you need to get on here and talk whitetail with us. He says, I don't have any stories, but as you can tell, looks like a pretty good story to me.
Very good deer.
He harvested that with our old number 11. But I just appreciate everybody's feedback, appreciate everybody's business. We just want to share what we do and how we do it. Thankful for Darren coming on board to help promote. Cody Fortenay, he's going to help us too with the whitetail side of things. We've got Ryan Ray, as everybody knows, excellent trapper. He's been on board for us for several years now. But I'm just thankful to be able to have the opportunity that Matt has provided here, that we can get on here and talk about whitetail. We can get on here and just share how we do things. I know during starting July, August, September, October, the consultation I have is just it's just astronomical. Calls every day, emails every day, how to. And I just figured if we could do a podcast, that we can get this information out a little bit better. So we plan to do maybe 2 this winter, and then starting probably August, September, October, really when everybody's mindset is on whitetail, provide a lot of information on setups and how we use our products. I know everybody's kind of thinking turkeys right now. I get that. I understand. I'm just one of those guys that think whitetail 365 days out of the year. But very thankful for Darren. Very thankful for his knowledge.
Glad to be here, Jason.
He's been using our products how many years now?
Since 2016.
2016.
Mm-hmm.
So I just felt really impressed to have somebody else promote us that knows how to use our product and uses it like we do. So, but
Jason, I kind of want to ask you too, for some of the viewers that might be watching, how did you get into the lure business? Because I know, known you for a while now, that your main hobby then was trapping.
It was. Uh-huh.
Then how did you get into like the whitetail side of it?
Well, Van Meter and Sun Lure started a long time ago, in the 90s, way before I had a son, I guess. I started messing around with building and formulating some lures. And then once I got on the market in 2007, I had formulated our 11th lure, which got us into the whitetail industry, which is our old number 11. So that's how it it got its brand name, old number 11. Uh, the 10 previous lures before that was all trapping: fox, bobcat, beaver, muskrat, coyote. But anyhow, so our old number 11 lure is what really got us into the whitetail industry. And once we got into the whitetail industry, it's so much bigger than trapping.
Right.
We haven't left the trapping industry. We still ship out 43 states in Canada. A lot of them states are trapping lures. Now you get to surrounding states for the whitetail industry. There's just more whitetail hunters than trappers. So, but that's kind of what got us into it. And once I formulated the old number 11, it's just really opened up. Really did.
And Darren, what's kind of like what's your background? Like, I know you've hunted for a long time. Give us some storylines from your hunting over the years and how it's changed and bettered and stuff like that.
Well, for me, since I've started using Van Meter and Sons lures, it's been a total game changer. As far as, I'm not so much worried anymore about, if I walk into the woods, I'm not really worried about my scent like I used to be. I use old number 11 as a cover scent when I walk in, and it has allowed me to, in the 40 years that I've hunted, it's allowed me to get closer to deer, and not only closer, but the quality of the deer. I've been able to hunt more mature bucks. I've harvested uh, in the 6 or 7 years that I've used it. I've been able to harvest great deer.
Right.
So yeah, it's been a game changer for me in every aspect of hunting.
Right.
So
So
it's
in
just
front
it's
of
just,
you is Mr. Krabs.
that is Mr. Krabs.
This is the deer that you harvested this year.
Yep.
Phenomenal deer. I know sometimes the camera angle doesn't do him any justice, but there's actually a picture of Darren after he harvested this deer. I'll pull it up on the screen, but this is just a phenomenal deer. He's got crab claws on both sides. Have you had that deer green scored yet at all?
Yes.
What's the green score on him?
He went 163 and 4/8, and his overall score was 162 and 5/8.
162 and 5/8.
Yes.
So that's in the
And that's
new Boone and Crockett.
That's a phenomenal deer for Southern Indiana for sure.
Yeah. I've got a history with this deer.
Click on all kinds of stuff.
If you don't mind me, I'll tell a little history of this deer. He's a 5.5-year-old. I started hunting this deer, or had encounters with him 2 years ago when he was a 3.5-year-old. And I could, I passed on him several times. He just wasn't the caliber of deer that I was looking for. And then last year I had probably 3 or 4 encounters with him and passed him twice last year. And then this year I told my wife, I said, if I'm going to kill one of these, harvest one of these deer out here on this parcel of property that I've been hunting where I knew he was at, it's going to be this year.
Right.
And I had 3 different encounters with him. And on the third time, which was November the 14th, God was on my side and he helped me. I was able to take him that day.
Right place, right time.
Right place, right time.
Good cover scent, whole 9 yards. It just
Well,
all come together.
Yes, I gotta give credit where credit's due. Using Van Meter and Son lures. I mean, it's just been, like I said, it's been a total game changer, and that to me is what kept this deer in his home core area.
Right.
Putting down those mock scrapes early, dotting all my I's, crossing all my T's, doing my homework, studying this deer, not pushing it. And like I said, I hunted him 3 times. The third time was the charm. So I give the credit to the lure. I mean, I really do.
That's one thing that I'm excited about too, is when Jason and I talk about doing this show, we had several conversations on texting, calling and that type of stuff. And that's one of the things that I'm excited about is going through those. How did you harvest a certain buck this year, and what did you do to get to that point? I think that's a lot of times on like hunting shows and everything, even YouTube videos. You always see the harvest and you see the final product, but it's the work that goes into
Oh, sure.
harvesting that deer that nobody ever sees.
That's
it's
right.
it's all like Jason and I talked about it a bunch. Like right now, everybody wants to harvest a certain deer, right? Whenever October 1st rolls around, it's go, go, go.
Mhm.
But what did you do from January 1 to October 1?
That's right.
That's a big game changer.
Well, that's just like my 2 target bucks for next year. I wish I could go in tomorrow and
Right.
hunt because they're on my harvest circle, kill zone, whatever you want to call it, and they are just tearing up the vertical vine or rub branch. They're in a pattern. What a lot of guys don't realize is that pattern that they're transitioned into in December into January is the same pattern they're going to be in more than likely come September, 1st of October.
Right.
And they're laying down a lot of sign right now. They're communicating with our lures and our setups that we have out there. And I'm pretty excited about taking all this data and all this information, where they're bedding, where they're feeding. Yeah, I know feeding will change due to the month of the year, but in a nutshell, it's all the same on this parcel that I'm hunting. And I'm just so excited.
Right.
I cannot wait until August, September that we can talk more about, how we prepare.
Right.
But right now is my time to scout. Now, January, February, March, April.
Absolutely.
It's the best time to scout. It's the best time to figure out where he's bedding. I mean, and you got to know where he's bedding if you're going to go after a mature deer. And which, I mean, a mature deer to some may be that 110 inch, 120 inch. It doesn't matter. But with what I'm finding right now and the sign I'm seeing right now, what my cameras are doing right now, it's really educating me for what I need to know for next year.
Right.
So,
and that's one thing I'm excited about too.
Or this fall.
Is putting all that together because I follow you on Facebook. We've been friends for a long time, and keeping up with your posts on about what's going on. Like we talked about, it's just, I think it's gonna be easier just to put it in a podcast. Let's talk about it. Break all those texts down into that 45 minute to an hour conversation,
right,
and get the information out there for hunters to hopefully become better hunters. So I got a picture of Jason's harvest this year too. I think this is it. Yep. This is the deer that you harvested this year, correct? Tell us a little story about him, because I know that you were after him for quite some time also.
Yeah, I laid my eyes on him for the first time. I believe it was October 28th. I usually don't start hunting until after Halloween. If there's a cold front, if there's a weather disturbance, it might get me out there somewhere between the 25th. But anyhow, I laid my eyes on him on my Tacticam reveal, sent it to my phone, and he was within that harvest circle. He was the buck that really took up on my horizontal rub branch I had there in the vine. He actually broke the vine. I think you got a picture of that.
Yeah, let me see. I got a picture of it too.
This vertical vine that we apply our number 11 to, we'll apply our Ridgetop Buck and Rut product to. That vine was constructed as a 6-foot+ inch vine,
and you can see where the bottom of it's already
just wore it out.
He broke that dude off, and I don't know if you can make that picture a little bigger.
Yeah, I can't blow it up.
Well, right behind that, which some of you've probably seen on our Facebook post, is a rub branch.
Right here.
And there it is, that rub branch right there.
Yep.
That had a lot of floral green on it. He had it tore down. So I knew it was getting close. I knew it was time to probably get within that kill circle, that harvest circle, and see if I could put him on the ground. But anyhow, I hunted him 4 times, I believe. 4 or 5 times. I think I seen him 3 or 4 times, and he was definitely a slow walker. I knew where he was bedding. I knew where the does were bedding. I just had to play the right time. That morning going in, I knew I could probably kill him or get him closer, because I'd always see him at 150+ yards, and the wind was blowing right in his face. And I know that's contrary to how a lot of people believe and how a lot of people hunt. Myself, I want the wind going to them. I want the wind hitting the back of my neck and going to that deer of his line of travel. And it was like clockwork. He come in there about 9 a.m. and he was going to check a doe bedding, and the wind was blowing right to him. And I was using our 50-50 product, which is 50% doe and heat, 50% dominant buck tarsal. And he come in there about 80 yards, and I sprayed about 10 sprays at him, and he just locked into it and
Tore him up.
he couldn't handle it. That with a bleat in 8 yards.
I want to ask a question about that. And anybody that's got any questions, if you want to comment, and we'll try to get them answered, while we're on the show. But I've always wondered about that because a lot of people want, like you said, the wind blowing in their face. But when you're using some kind of lure or attractor or anything like that, to me, it's always made more sense for it to be blowing at them, not like behind you.
Right.
So can you give us a little bit of like education on the purpose of that?
Well, first of all, I'm scent free, as in how I wash my clothing. I use an ozonics bag. I got a special room actually in this shop that has all my hunting gear in it, or will have
to have,
and it'll be ozonic clean. And same with how I shower. Everything I wear is total scent free. And then, if you get in there on these deer at the right time of the year and you're putting a smell in the air that's going to either attract them or it's going to make them curious, they're going to really hone in on that more than, what they can smell of me.
Gotcha.
Which is very low percentage, because I go in very clean. I don't, all my hunting clothes are toted up. They're in my ozonics bag. I get dressed in the field.
Gotcha.
I don't get dressed here, and I get undressed in the field to keep everything scent free.
Well, if I can,
go ahead.
as I stated earlier, I've always been the type of guy, scent control it's a big thing. You can't go in smelling like air freshener or something like that. It's the hunt's over with before it starts.
Yeah.
I can attest to what Jason just said, because I think I told you this story. There was one matriarch doe in particular on a piece of property. Actually, the doe was still alive where I killed Mr. Krabs this year. This doe's probably, I'm going to say 6.5, 7.5 years old. A mature doe will pick you off quicker than a mature buck will, from my experience.
I agree with that.
And a few years back, I had moved a stand. Me and a buddy of mine, we relocated a stand, and I was going to hunt this same property, just a different area. First time I went to that setup, 2 weeks after we moved it, wind was blowing towards me, and that doe picked me off like that, 200 yards away. So I stayed out of there. I started using old number 11 as a cover scent. I wasn't then.
Right.
But I started using the old number 11 as a cover scent. Went back in there a couple of weeks later. Same thing. She looked at me, but she didn't have a care in the world. And the wind was blowing toward her. Every now and then she would pick up my scent, and you could tell by her body language, well, there's something in here. What is it? And then she would smell that lure, and she didn't care.
Calm again. Yeah.
She calmed down. The stuff is great stuff. I mean, it is just a fantastic lure to use, and and it's like Jason said. I mean, when we've all said this is about trying to make people better, smarter hunters.
Right.
So you can harvest better quality deer.
Right. I did see Mason Buchanan did have a question. Best gear gadget that you use that you find most useful?
Best deer gadget?
Best gear, gear or gadget that you guys find useful.
That ozonics bag had to be mine.
I agree 100%.
While in the field, right?
Yeah, it can be in the field. It can be one piece of equipment that you bought that kind of like set aside, like Jason talked about, like an ozonics bag.
Mm-hmm.
I bought one of them bags, and it's just been a game changer for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got storage, you got clothes storage plus scent killing. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like all in one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would have to say I've used ozonics too. I don't use it a lot. I have one of those units, and I don't use it too much. I'm like old Stan Potts. I grab a trash bag and I keep all my hunting gear in that.
Yeah.
It stays in there 365 days a year unless I'm hunting.
Right.
But to me, for bow season, because my eyesight is not what it used to be, I would have to say a rangefinder has helped me
That's good.
tremendously.
That can make or break a hunt. It
Oh,
really
yeah.
can.
Absolutely.
I'm not there yet. You're 6 years older than me.
So Jeff Campbell asked, "What do you guys wash your hunting clothes in?" He states, "I've always used baking soda. What do you wash your clothes in?"
Well, this may sound a little off, but I buy brand new clothes and I put them in the ozonics bag. I never wash them.
Straight into the bag, and
yeah.
One time, dead downwind, but I had the scent lock hunting attire.
Yeah.
You're only supposed to wash them one time. I wash mine one time per year, and it stays in a concealed bag in my closet. No air gets to it.
I use the dead downwind wash also.
And I have
but
used
I
it
use a bag.
Like if my apparel would get soiled, bloody, from a harvest. Right. I have done that.
Yeah.
But I try not to.
Mm-hmm. But those bags just take care of it.
They do.
I mean, I was shocked whenever I first put mine in a bag and ran it. So it's just crazy. What are you guys like as far as like right now? What are you guys doing right now? I know Jason's he's got that circle still going because you sent me some text the other day, and one of those bucks that for 2023 is still in there.
Mm-hmm. Two of them are.
Mm-hmm. Two of them are.
Mm-hmm. Both good deer too.
What do you guys do this time of year as far as do you guys is it full go? Like, because I know sometimes in that September area, you stay out as much as you can. You don't want to be in the woods. What do you do this time of year? Does it really matter? As far as like running cameras, putting up any kind of scent, anything like that?
Yeah, I keep running the old number 11 on from time to time when I go in. I don't have the Tacticam cameras,
right?
And I'm going to have to invest in those. I'm old school. I usually go in every 2 weeks still, and I will run my cameras till mid-April, end of March, up through mid-April. I usually try to pull them, and then but yeah, I'm still scouting because like we stated earlier in the show, right now is the time to scout. But I will run my cameras up till, like I said, mid-April, and then I usually pull them. But I run a lawn care business, and I usually start getting busy, mid-March and April. But I'm still in the woods, and I do a lot of shed hunting.
Right.
I'll do shed hunting up till I start slinging grass, mowing grass, you know. So you have to,
What about you?
Myself, I'll put some trophy rock out. I like the natural solid rock. I got like on one parcel of land, it's about a 400-acre parcel, and I've got 3 mineral sites on it. And it's just to maintain the does. Everything thrives off mineral.
Right.
And maintain does while they're going through their cycle of pregnancy, and then, of course, antler growth. But I've got some trapping to do. I've got this may not make much sense to very many, but I've got a 400-acre parcel. There's 22 bucks. 3 of them are mature, and I've got about 11 or 12 does on that parcel, and I've got about 8 coyotes and 1 bobcat. And the way this land lays, that's where they live.
Right.
It's a parcel of land. The landscape is laid out to where this is where they live. This is their home. And I've got I need to take about 5 coyotes off of that parcel of land. And I do about every 2 years. And the reason I do that is just to keep everything in check.
Gotcha.
I want my coyotes. I don't want my fawn count to be very high. I don't want my doe count to be very high. That's why I've got a 400-acre parcel with about 11, maybe 12 does and 22 bucks. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's real. I'm running 9 cameras on this parcel of land, and I see them coming and going. I know where everybody beds, and I know where everybody feeds, and I know what's going on. I got three of the harvest circles I talk about with the vertical vines, the rub branch. And if you've got a lot of does on a parcel of landscape like this, you're not going to have that many bucks. And
that's what I was going to ask you next.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
them does, them bucks, especially the mature bucks, you know, they don't want all that doe attention in the off season of breeding. They don't bed together. They don't want to be together. And with these mature bucks, you know, the rest of the 3 of them's nice mature bucks, 4.5, 5.5 plus year old, and all the other bucks are anywhere from a 3.5, 2.5 yearling bucks, but those will disperse in due time. But there'll be a day that they'll probably come back and mature out there. But I do need to take probably about 5 coyotes off that property. But and it's all about keeping the ratio,
right?
The doe ratio. I don't want all of them gone,
right?
Because I don't want all the fawns,
right,
to live,
right.
And I know that doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but this landscape, 12 does is enough,
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a lot. It depends on your acreage.
It is
the deer herd
cover.
ratio.
Oh yeah,
cover.
Right.
I mean, this cover is a big thing. There's like buck bedding. There's 3-4 different buck bedding areas. And if you measure them out, they're not even 4 or 5 acre patches, right. You know, and I can just hear people now. I know where he's at, but and that's fine. But there's one patch that's a lot of doe bedding, and it's probably about an 18-acre patch of woods, and that's where all the does usually end up. Not all 12, but about half of the doe families. And a lot of them visit that area, but most of them bed in 2 different areas. So
this right here is going to be a good question, because I know both of you guys both use, Jason, you use the cell cameras. Darren, you don't use the cell cameras. What kind of cameras do you guys suggest?
I like this. I know this young man, Reed Shelton. I use Bushnell and Browning.
Gotcha.
That's what I have.
And they're both good cameras.
Yes, good cameras. I've got some Moultries too, but you know, they're some of their cameras are they're okay. They take good pictures, but they just, to me, a Moultrie camera uses a lot of batteries, man.
Yeah.
But Bushnell and Browning is what I use.
And you're a big Tacticam guy, right?
Yeah, but I'm a greenhorn. I'll tell you that. I just got into the whole cell camera thing this year. I tried it back in 2018 to promote our stuff. Right. I had some cheap stealth cameras, and nothing wrong with them. Just more operator error than anything. But what I like about the Tacticam is it's pretty foolproof. Right. I mean, it's dummy proof, and I'm the dummy. Trust me. And but I like them. They can get in your pocketbook. Yeah. But they seem to do a good job.
I know for scouting purposes, sometimes it's nice to have that on demand. You know, like so. Yeah. It kind of goes back to okay. I want to ask you this. Is scent control in February just as important as it is in September? If you go into the timber to run cameras or anything of that nature, is scent control just as important in February as it is in September?
Well, you know, I stay pretty clean. You know what I mean? I'm not, that's like, I get a lot of guys come to my shop and man, they smell like they're going out on a prom date. Right. Well, I'm not that guy, right, you know, so I don't worry about that. My boots are always in my truck. My over jacket's always in my truck. Mm-hmm. I've always got some scent control going on, but I don't wear scented colognes and perfumes and all that to where, you know, if I go in, I play the wind, you know, yeah, if I'm like, I was out last week checking on a buck bedding location. And I was able to get up on those bucks and see them in there bedding. And but the wind was in my favor.
Gotcha.
So yeah, if I'm out scouting right now, it all depends on what I'm doing. If I'm out scouting for buck bedding, I'm going to play the wind, and I'm going to be careful.
Absolutely.
You know. So
I'm trying to read through questions. Sorry. When do you all believe is the correct time to harvest, manage your doe herd, early season or late season?
Darren, go for that one.
Early.
Early.
Mhm.
But you really don't shoot those.
No, if I do shoot one, it's usually on state property. I never harvest any does on the properties that I hunt or my properties. It's usually, well, it's always state property.
And just let me insert this quick. If you know your herd, you'll know how to manage them.
Yep.
And like Darren told me the other day, he is it true you will not shoot a doe where you usually are trying to kill something like this?
I will not shoot does on my properties that
Right.
I hunt, and I have a lot of private properties that I hunt. Me and even properties where I'm at. I won't do it.
Right.
A guy told me years ago not to shoot the does that on the properties that you hunt. Now with that said, what I normally do, I may take one every 8 to 10 years if I need, the meat, because my family, we eat the meat,
Right.
But I normally, if I'm going to harvest a doe, it's always 90% of the time it's on state property.
Do you agree with that, Jason? Early season?
I do. Olivia and I, we went into where I try to manage the property to harvest a nice deer, and we went in there this fall, and she was wanting a buck, I was wanting a doe because we need deer meat.
Right, right.
And so she harvested a doe there, and that's okay. But I understand exactly what Darren is saying, and it's all about knowing your herd.
Right.
It's all about knowing what you got and how much pressure you have, and how many neighboring people you have harvesting, and so there's just a lot of variables there, really.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen any buck shedding yet?
A few.
I have not.
Young, just on camera.
It's on camera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Using number 11 or any other scents, how long are you using them for? And if a buck gets spooked, will that buck use that as a bad experience, maybe shy away from the scent?
I don't think he's going to shy away from number 11. I get that question asked a lot. Man, this spooked a deer. And, well, I've never really seen it spook a deer.
Right.
I've seen a deer get curious. I've seen does get ornery about it, just stomp their foot, and because that's just how does are.
Right.
But a lot of times, if that deer has spooked, it's usually something else.
Gotcha.
Something.
Yeah.
Seeing a silhouette, smelling something else, hearing something. But no, I mean, if you spook a mature deer, he's not going to like it. So
That's a great question.
What kind of? Oh, we went through that one already. That was Reed again. Brad Wold wants to know natural water holes or man-made water holes, or just any water holes in general. I'm assuming, I guess.
I like a water hole. I make my own.
Is it worth? Okay, let's get into that for a second, because I know you made your own. If you don't have a water source, how beneficial is it to make your own water source?
Very.
As far as your land management and that type of stuff.
Very.
Because it kind of completes the circle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Water, food, and bedding. I mean, if you don't have one of the three, I think you kind of have to do something to make it, right?
Yeah. And if you have those three, that's a triple crown. I mean,
right.
That's what it takes, to keep them and hold them in there.
Right.
Well, I had this dude at about 50. Now it is further than that, probably 150 yards. And then I had another one come in at about 75 yards that evening. And he was a shooter. Wasn't one I wanted, but if he'd got a little closer, I'd probably shot him.
Right.
Same time, I'm watching my camera. I'm a water hole, 20-yard shot, bigger than both of them.
Really?
same night.
But that was your number one.
Yeah,
Target, but I thought it was.
That's the deer that I wanted.
Right.
Even though the one at the water hole, 25 miles away, I'd have shot him too.
Right.
So,
Ryan Ray said, "Evening, fellows. I know Ryan's your trapping guy.
man,
so-
he's the best.
I'll say.
Yeah,
I'd like to meet him sometime.
yeah, he's a good guy.
Raleigh Shelton says, "Weapon of choice during firearm season."
308.
308.
30-30, because I'm a brush hunter. I hunt. I mean, it's just like I hunt with a crossbow, but I shoot all my deer at 0 to 20 yards.
Yep.
That's just how I hunt. I don't have the deer. I have a good deer the year before this one, probably about the same size as him, maybe a little bigger, but I hunted him hard from Halloween on. That'd have been 2020? But anyhow, I never could thread the needle.
That was the one you hunted around here, wasn't it?
And I finally harvested him with my 30-30 at 26 steps maybe.
Right.
But yeah. But that's just, that's my that's just how I like to hunt. I like to hunt where it's thick. I like to hunt right on top of them.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That brings up this next question. Do you guys feel more comfortable hunting hardwood, stick timber, or farmland, small parcels of woods, and why? So would you rather hunt big parcels of ground or small, I call them patch woods, but if you had to pick one, which one would you pick?
Well, the first thing is exit entry, especially on any parcel of land. You cannot be spooking deer coming and going. It's just, you can't. I mean, does, yeah, they're here today and they're there every day, but right. You get in the mature deer, it's hard once you get to busting them. So my big thing on my choice is know my herd, know what they're doing, know where they're bedding, and figure out the easiest exit entry of not spooking deer. So
you can't go in and out the front door, slamming the door every time.
And I love hunting big hardwoods. I think Darren hunts a lot of big hardwoods.
I do.
And you got to master that. And it's tough.
Right.
It's tough.
But like you said, it's the entry. You can't be ground dumb. You got to be smart. Your entry and exit. I mean, but it's just, it's one of those things that, a lot of the properties that I hunt too, though, are smaller parcels.
Right.
And I've got three particular properties that I hunt, and 1 year this piece of property may have more deer on it, more does, more bucks may come into on this property, and the following year it may be down.
Right.
That's why I'll have 3 or 4 pieces of property that I can hunt, but most of them are small parcels. The thing about hunting hard timber in large areas is deer can move. I mean, they can, if this makes sense, they can move farther, and it may be harder to call in a mature deer if if you have wide open spaces. The more acreage, is this making sense? The more acreage that you have, right. it may be harder to see a big buck or kill the quality of deer that you're wanting. So if I hunt big parcels, it's usually on state property.
I think Jason and I have talked about this a little bit too, and I think this is a good point to bring up. But
I just hit the mad sign, so I'm not mad. But go ahead, emoji. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. I think a lot of times, I know that Jason and I've had this talk in this shop a bunch, but especially in Southern Indiana, I'm just going to use Southern Indiana as an example. When we watch social media, we watch other outlets of hunting and stuff. A lot of times, land management is based off of 800 to 1,000 acres, right?
Yeah.
Well, not everybody in Southern Indiana has 800 to 1,000 acres.
It's true.
So, you might take a 60 or 70 acre parcel that you have, and if you are going off of what you see on the social media outlets and stuff, it doesn't always apply to the hunting land that you're hunting.
That's right.
So you have to figure out, like Jason always says, you got to figure out your herd, like
Mm-hmm.
where they eat, where they bed, and all that stuff. Just because I might have 60 acres, but my neighbor owns 600, and like you said, I have to figure out a way to get the deer on my 60 acres, or they've got 600 that they're going to roam around on
Mhm.
that could have an ag field. I don't
Mhm.
have an ag field, just stuff like that. So to your point, I mean,
Yeah.
it's big timber is
And you
harder to
explained
hunt.
that better. You explained that better than I did, Matt. But yes, absolutely,
It's harder to hunt.
It
It's
is
just,
harder.
it's got a lot more room to roam around, and the odds of seeing that deer are a lot slimmer.
Mhm.
What
Not that he's not there; it's just a lot slimmer.
Right.
what's Bobby Phillips asking there?
How is the best way to get a mature buck to show himself in daylight instead of always coming by cameras in dark on small parcels?
Know where he beds. I mean, you got to know where he beds. You got to catch him either coming out of bed, which that can be tough. They're usually at dark, but you got to catch him going back to bed.
I always look at it, there's a 30-minute window there,
Mhm.
right?
Well,
30
yeah.
minutes before dark, 30 minutes after daylight.
Well, and I tell you something that I do a lot, and I think it helps on my landscape where I hunt. I think it helps a lot that I go in at gray area. That gray area, it's not dark, it's not daylight. Things have kind of positioned themselves because they know it's starting to get daylight.
Right.
And there's just a special moment there between, 4 o'clock at night to 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. There's a lot of deer bedded
Mhm.
Right.
during that window, and then they're going to get up to feed, and and that's just like them bucks, like Bobby's talking about. If you know where they bed, people talk about nocturnal bucks. There's really not such thing as a nocturnal buck. I mean, they're on their feet feeding. They feed 4 or 5 times in a 24-hour period, and twice is at night. That's 3 times during the day that they're feeding.
Right.
They may not move far, but they're moving,
Right.
and they're going through that browse time during the day, eating a lot of woody browse. So that's why they like to hit that green come evening time. But knowing where he beds, and
That's key.
That's
That's
it.
vital.
I think Daniel's question is going to kind of go into this farther to what you're talking is how far do you go in? So if buck bedding, I'm just using these numbers as an example, but if buck bedding is say 150 yards from the wood line, right? How deep do you go?
Well, it's these deer bed in layers. You got your food source, your high quality food source. I mean, that's what they want more than anything, whether that's green, and majority of the time it is, or whether that's just some good high quality browse. Maybe it's acorn, but it'll be layers. It'll be food, does, and bucks.
Mm-hmm.
But I like to know my landscape well enough to where that dividing line is. What divides the whole layering system between you got your food, you got your travel to the bedding, that dividing line. And usually them does are 150 yards off the food, and then the bucks are another 250 yards.
Right.
But there's sometimes a dividing line, and I know Darren does too. I love hunting power lines.
Oh yeah.
Because you got buck bedding on one side, doe bedding on the other.
Power lines and fields.
And field edges. That's like, if you have a finger woods and it opens up to a big patch, a 20 acre, and then you got a real narrow strip of green, whether it be crop or just hay, and then it goes into another finger or strip. One's going to be buck, one's going to be doe. And I've noticed too on the whole buck bedding thing, they really we have a predominant southwest wind here in southern Indiana. They really like to put that wind on the back of their head and smell anything behind them and watch below them and look out and listen.
Well, normally a mature buck's going to walk with the wind.
Mm-hmm.
So that goes along with what you just
does.
said.
So
that's good information. That's why I just wanted to ask, just for some viewers,
Well, add to that, Darren, because I feel like you can maybe add to the buck bedding or whatever.
I feel like sometimes, with the whole bedding situation is I've actually kind of done it myself, but you can misplace a stand by 40 or 50 yards, right? I mean, as far as him traveling from his bedding to and from food sources,
sure,
you could be 40 yards off and then totally throw the whole game off,
right,
and not see nothing.
That's why it's an easy thing to overlook. I mean, we get caught up in the hunting, and if we're hunting a particular buck, but that's why it is so critical to me to use trail cameras first and foremost. You need to find out where these bucks are coming from, or these deers, or whatever it is. If you're hunting a doe, a buck, whatever, uh, you got to know, like Jason said, you got to know where they're coming from, where their bedding area is. Come rut, when the rut's in full swing, you got to know where they're rutting at. And it's just one of those things. I'll tell you, I've got a particular piece of property that I hunt, and I've hunted it for a long time, and I've been successful on it. Most of the deer, the mature bucks that I've killed, are harvested in this area. There's one particular, it sets in between, there's always a cornfield and a soybean field. The farmer rotates them. And there's a little tract of land in between these. Every year, these bucks and does, that is where they breed. That is, it's called a staging area. That's what I normally call it. And I've harvested some good deer, in these areas. And again, to me, it's all about getting to know the property that you're hunting, using trail cameras, and because if anybody can grab a tree stand and throw it over their shoulder and walk into the woods, and you might get lucky and see a big deer. You might get lucky and kill one, but your chances of harvesting a mature buck is, you got to do your homework.
Right.
And
Well, I have a lot of guys ask me, well, how do I know where buck bedding is? How do I find this? And go now.
mm-hmm.
And what I've learned over the years is, you'll go now. It's okay. Bust him out of that bed. No, I don't like to, but if it happens, it happens.
Right.
We're here in January, February, March, but it doesn't matter if it's a 6-point or 180-inch 10-point. It's buck bedding.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it's buck bedding. I mean, it's if there's a buck bedded there, there's going to be multiple different bucks bed right there.
Right.
So right now, mainly in years gone by, rather, that's where I was like, man, I got to figure out where these dudes are bedding at. So January, February, get in there, bust him up. Oh man, I busted him up, but now I know where he beds.
Right.
But it's January, It's February, it's not that bad. And buck bedding will change a little bit, through the course of the summer and the spring and the fall. But right now, if you're finding some buck bedding, it's a good chance that's going to be their fall buck bedding as well.
Gotcha.
So,
Mason Buchanan said, this is a pretty good question, but is a statement, can't kill them sitting on the couch, true? Can excessive hunting be detrimental to your harvest? Do you selectively pick your hunts, or does time in the stand correlate directly into harvesting?
Mine's weather. I mean, I wait till it's right. I wait till the weather's right. I like my cold fronts. I like my weather disturbance. I like to see a 7-day drought and get up to 60, 70 degrees, and then it drops 20 degrees and it rains. It's time to go hunting after that rain. And that's just like whenever I was hunting the slow walker this year, everybody was like, man, it's hot. Well, it was 70 degrees during the day. We was having a cold front every night. It's 43 degrees, 44.
That first week in November.
Yeah, and anytime there's that 10, 15 degree drop in weather, them deer are going to move to that.
Yeah.
And, so I was hunting the morning, which that's what I like to hunt during that time of the year, Halloween on. You're getting that point to where, them bucks it's a cool night. They're on their feet till 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they're finally bedding down. So, yeah, weather and location. And that's just like, I want to talk about this deer here. He was killed in one of my harvest circles. He had a rub branch and a licking vine, and I knew where he bedded. I didn't really mean to, but I was brush hogging the farm and jumped him up in September. And I was like, well, that's good. I know where he's at, and I'm going to pursue him. And he was bedding really close to my harvest circle with my rub branch and my licking vine, mock scrape dripper with ridgetop buck and red in it. And I went in there and I done a one set, and I seen him, and I slipped out of there, exit and entries, everything. And then I went back. I knew it was an evening hunt. It wasn't going to be a morning hunt. And I killed him, harvested him on October 29th. The wind was right. I had 4 ounces of ridgetop buck and rut, and if it took all 4 ounces, I was going to spray it right into his bedding. He was probably bedding 150 yards behind me, but exit and entries, everything. I slipped down a creek, got in my tree stand. At 4:30, I started spraying. I done 2 sequences. I sprayed about an ounce, and then I grunted with our grunt call, real soft. Put it up. That was at 4:30. At 4:38, I think I done it again. Same sequence. At 4:44, I shot him at 10 yards in front of me. But he come in, bristled up, looking for me.
Looking for you.
Because I was, but it was all about weather. It was all about timing.
Timing.
And you know, he was in there. It was right. It was peak pre-rut. And I was in his circle. I was in his domain. And I brought in a new buck with a new sound and a new smell. And he couldn't take it.
You wouldn't have none.
So I couldn't have done that 2 weeks earlier, you know,
Right.
or 2 weeks later.
Right.
So
Right time.
right time for sure.
But you, Darren?
I was just reading Brian's comment.
How do you
I was
read
gonna-
that? I
I
think
was-
it's some glasses.
You can't see that?
Have you got contacts in?
No, I can't see it here.
Oh, okay.
Far away, I can't.
Yeah.
How do you figure out where the bedding areas? Can I go ahead?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Bedding areas are on a big tract of timber. Well,
Oh, that's tough.
I had a guy years ago tell me to check south facing slopes. And you know, and you guys may have heard this too. Bed, I don't know what it is, but from my experience, deer like to bed on south facing slopes. I don't know if that helps you in any way, Brian, but and I don't know if that even answers your question, but you know, it didn't really even have to be in a big tract of timber. It can be in a small tract of timber. What I do know is from scouting and years of hunting that deer do like to bed on south facing slopes.
I think they like too where that thermal pushes down real hard,
Mm-hmm.
and they just use that.
Right.
Of course, they like the thick. They are a creature of edge, so anything that's goes from hardwoods to anything a little thicker, whether it be pine or cedar or you know.
Yeah.
Amos Cook wants to know why do mature bucks not like coming to food plots?
I think it's just a wide open. They're a creature of edge. That's why I tell all these guys, I'm not a big food plot guy. I'm not against them. I like to put out a little clover. I like to put out a little winter rye in my little green patches, I call them. But that's where my kill circle is. That's
Mm-hmm.
where my harvest circle is. That's where my rub branch is, my mock scrape, my dripper, my vine, and gives them a little green for digestive reasons. It's a place where it's social, but you got to have edge. And I tell these guys, when you're out there building that new food plot, make sure you got an island out in the middle of it. Make sure you got a finger jutting out in it. Give them some edge to follow.
Right.
They don't like to present themselves in this great big green patch. Just for example, I had a guy in my shop this fall. He said, "Man, I had all kinds of deer." I said, "Did you?" He said, "Yeah, on a power line." And I said, "Yeah, I love hunting power lines." And I said, "I hate to see when they spray them because I want it, sun honeysuckle and about waist high because
Right.
Oh,
them mature deer like edge, even if it's just waist high to them
Right.
because they feel cover." But anyhow, so he told me, he said, "Yeah, I put a food plot in it." I said, "Did you?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Did you clean it up?" "Oh man, I cleaned it up. There ain't no brush. There's nothing. It's just prettiest green and there ain't a deer to be found." I said, "Well,
No cover.
you took their cover
Yeah,
away."
that's what I was
Yeah.
getting ready to say.
And he said, "Oh, I had big bucks coming in there when it was all brushy and briary." And I said, "Yeah, that's what they like.
That's home.
Mhm.
It is. It really is. So they like that cover. They like that edge." So Darren, I didn't cut you off, did I?
No, not at all. I mean,
Well, we're an hour into it. You guys, tonight we just kind of wanted to give like a intro to what the show is going to be about. We do have a lot of great content coming. Like Jason was telling, well, I think we're going to probably do another one here coming up.
Yeah, I think
February-ish,
so.
maybe.
Caleb's wanting to do a trapping series. We're going to try to put something together for everybody
Cool.
on trapping. He's got a GoPro, and we're going to do a few things there with that and share some content on trapping. But no, this is kind of an introduction. I am very excited for next August, September, October, when we can really get on here and everybody's geared up for it and ready.
So you're going to have Ryan Ray down for your?
I think we can hook Ryan up.
We can actually hook. Ryan. I'm going to text you about this.
What
and we'll
about-
get it set up. But we can actually do phone conversations too with people.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can call them on the phone, talk to them. That's
So
Cody,
yeah, we can like the next show. Like to have something predator control on top of some shed hunting. I know Darren's going to start just scouting, wintertime scouting.
Yep.
I want to try to get some more pictures of different things. I tell you what, these deer right now, they are just laying the sign down.
Mhm.
Right.
I mean, the scrapes, the rubs. I mean, they're just really. It's that third rut, nobody wants to call it
Yeah.
first, second, third rut,
Right.
but it's there. And, some of them old bucks just hanging on, hoping,
Yeah.
so, but I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see what this turns into.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I want to be informative. I want to be positive. It may not be how we do things may not be for everybody, but,
And going on Daniel Mitchell's, we contemplated that a lot about time and and stuff like that. And, obviously we want to get as many viewers as we can watching this. The more we get this content out there, the more, hopefully it'll help somebody. And you take into consideration of sports, family sports, and all that stuff. And you get into that 5 to 7 o'clock time frame. People are eating supper and stuff like that. But it's tough.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the good thing about this is, and these episodes will be on the Van Meter St. Louis Facebook page, Hoosier Hardwoods Outdoors Facebook page, and Van Meter St. Louis YouTube channel. So you can go back and watch these episodes at any time. So just let everybody know that.
I like what J.R. Leonard said. He's a good deer hunter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I really like J.R.
JR.
Just a good fella. But he said if you plant a plot in a power line, make sure make sure it's small and your mature bucks will continue to come through and feed on them. Absolutely. Yeah. I tell you what, there's a lot of good deer hunters.
There is.
Tuned in here. I mean, just guys, it's just
JR usually kills one every year.
Eat up with it. And so if you get a text, I may invite you on the show. So later on down the road.
And here's the cool part about it too, like Jason and I just discussed. We're just down to earth guys that love to deer hunt. So
yeah.
I mean, and whatever we can do to help people, and I'm gonna be honest with everybody. I'm the young one in the room, so I have a lot to learn myself. So that's why I was excited about talking to Jason and Darren and just learning along with them teaching all of the viewers. So fortunately, I'm decent tech guy, so that's kind of like my forte. And then helping ask questions and stuff like that. So we're gonna have a lot of fun doing that.
Yeah, and
none of us claim to be professionals. We just like to hunt.
Well, I have a lot of
deer hunt.
I get, like I said, I have a lot of people call and text, and that's fine. I enjoy that, but I want this to be an outlet to where they can find information. And like Matt said, you can go back on YouTube or Facebook pages and rewatch and re-listen.
Yeah.
So,
and this, like I said too, I mean, I'm sorry for the technical difficulties at the beginning. I know that I'm going to go back and check everything. I know 100% sure that we are live on the Hoosier Hardwoods and Van Meter St. Louis Facebook page. I'll have to go back and check all the YouTube stuff, and if it's not on there, I apologize. But going forward, everything, and also too, I don't know with the technical difficulties if we got this time, but these will also be carried over to podcasts on Spotify. Anywhere you get your podcast, you'll be able to listen to them in your truck or car on your way to work or wherever you're going. So we're going to have a lot of different outlets for this so we can reach as many people as we can. So.
I see on here Katie Van Diver and Julie Rothrock. Them gals are deer hunters.
They are.
Man, I like to get them on the show sometime. Yep. Just to encourage, the women.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
amen.
A lot of young ladies that love to deer hunt. I know my daughter Olivia does, but I think it'd be really cool to have them on sometime.
Absolutely.
And if we can bring him on later down the road.
Yeah.
And Cody too, like I mentioned earlier, Cody Fortnay, he's just a wealth of knowledge. I've known him since he was a young teenager, and he's going to be good to listen to.
Sounds like it.
So
somebody has no cat.
And that's what it's about, touching the not only people my age, middle age, but hitting the younger people, making, getting them out there.
When I was starting out there, and like when I started out hunting years ago, I wish there was resources to kind of, back then it was just trial and error, and whatever worked.
You taught yourself.
You taught yourself. That's a good point. To help the younger people, and if they got any questions, feel free to ask them on the show. We'll try to get them answered.
Well, like I said, we'll try to do maybe one more. I know seasons are changing right now, getting into spring and summer, and but from July on, I'd really like to.
And I will say this
several
too.
shows.
Jason's got a lot going on here. We got a shop edition. We got trying to make the Van Meterson Lures brand, bigger, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So there's been this is part of the new edition. So it's pretty cool to do it in here. I think so. We're going to do some shows out in the shop too. We discussed about.
Right.
We'll talk about like whenever that July time frame gets here. We can get into like what lures you suggest to use at what times of the year, and stuff like that. So
I keep telling our youngest daughter Hannah that this is her new office.
Her new office.
She's not receiving it yet. So
hopefully she will.
But no, we'll definitely get into a lot of information. I'm really. I know I sound like a broken record, but I'm really excited about it. So
we don't have I know the Hoosier Hardwoods Live for everybody on my side that was following along before. We definitely don't have an every week time frame. So bear with us. We'll make sure everybody gets notified on the Van Meterson Lures Facebook page, the Hoosier Hardwoods Outdoors Facebook page, when the next show's coming up. That way everybody can tune in and join in on the conversation. So,
I like this last question here. Do you all believe that every doe goes into estrus same time every year? Well, it all depends on if she gets bred the first go. It all depends on age, maturity. But I tell you what, if you get that monarch doe like Darren was talking about, and use her to your advantage, you know where she lives, where she beds,
right.
And that's who them mature bucks want, and them mature does want the mature buck,
right.
And you can use them to their advantage. So it may take a little time, it may take a little study, it may take some effort to figure out them does. I mean, you got to know your herd.
Yep.
I mean, and I know that's hard, and it's hard to figure out, but being out there in the spring, everybody gets excited in July and August to go glass fields. Right now is when you need to be scouting.
Mm-hmm.
Right now
it's
is when
the
you
time
need to figure out who the mature does are and how many you think you have on your parcel. But I mean, they can come in the same time every year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And statistically, that's what some of the biologists, say that, a lot of people, you hear the myth, it's so hot. Is it going to throw the rut off? Is it,
right?
This and that. Normally does will come into estrus normally at the same time every year.
I tell you what, this year was crazy with them code fronts. We may have another hour show here, but anyhow, them code fronts earlier this year was killing me. Because I was not ready to go, but the bucks were ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
They're from that real cold front we had the first or second week of October.
Yes.
I was like, oh, good night.
Well, it snowed during bow season one day, didn't it? Half inch.
And what people don't understand is when it gets cold or cools off, them deer want to move because they're not hot. They're not hot. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's it. They're cool. That's just like when it finally rained, and them deer got that rain, and,
right?
And we had that long drought, and it rained, and it cooled them down. And and when they can body, when their body feels cooler, they're going to move. Mm-hmm. And the first move they're going to make in the fall is going to lean towards rut activity and behavior.
I had talked to you, and I said I'm wait till October. I kept texting him, wait till October. And then that cold front came through, and I texted him, I'm like, I'm chomping at the bit. I don't know if I can handle it.
And you know, I don't discourage anybody to not go.
Right.
I mean, this is just me and how I do
Yeah.
it. I mean, guys, go. But I do want to say this.
I was just telling myself, you know,
Yeah.
October. You gotta wait till Halloween. I wait till Halloween.
Yeah.
And then that cold front come through, and I'm like,
well, that bucket I'm looking at, there's 2 bucks I'm looking at for next year. One, I call him a traveler because he's there all summer and he leaves about that second week of October. Then he don't come back until about December, first week of December.
right.
But I tell you what, it's going to be hard not to hunt October 1st for me.
Right.
If he's doing what I think he's going to be doing, which is what he's doing right now within my harvest circle.
Right.
I don't want to go then because I want to go in Halloween.
Right. Exactly.
I just like going then, and then I like to go as long as I can go, you know.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
It's like you said, it's all about timing. I
Yeah.
mean, and you can't. What I would tell, the best advice I could give somebody is don't overhunt one place too
Right.
much.
That's it. But you know what? If you want to hunt, go hunt.
Yeah.
yeah,
Man, go hunt.
Yeah.
Go.
Like I said, you can't kill one from the couch. You know,
Right.
so
But you know, back to that, I think you can because if you go at the wrong time.
yes,
But that's hunting something that you classify as your mature deer. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I have to pursue him at the right time.
right.
So sometimes I need to sit on the couch.
Yeah.
But to go out and just harvest deer, no, don't sit on the couch.
Mm-mm.
Go deer hunting.
Go after. Yeah,
Go deer
absolutely.
hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, all right then. I guess we probably ought to close this down before we get wound up.
That's
again.
all right.
It's already 9:13.
Well, I appreciate everybody watching. Appreciate everybody tuning in. I know I've had a blast this first episode, so definitely looking forward to more of it.
yeah.
I want to thank everybody. I want to thank everybody out there that's made Van Meter Sun Lure what it is. Because a little slogan I had in the beginning was, how did it go? It's something like Van Meter Sun Lures. I come up with calling the wild, but I had a little slogan I always thought about. We can't do it without you because you're the guys that bring it out of the bottle.
Right.
You know.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate all the business. I appreciate all the people and appreciate everybody trying us out and having confidence in what we produce and what we do.
You've got a great product, buddy.
So we're thankful. Appreciate
and
it.
make sure to like or subscribe to the Hoosier Hardwoods Outdoors YouTube channel, the Van Meter Sun Lures Van Meter Sun Lures YouTube channel, and both Facebook pages too. That way you guys, whenever we do get more episodes, you can go to them channels and it'll notify you that we got new episodes coming. So
I got to say this before we close. Jeff Arnold, you're my friend. You're my great friend, and I thank you, buddy, for turning me on to Van Meter and Son Lures.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah,
he did.
Much appreciated.
All right. Well, we will let you guys know what our next show is, and thank you for watching.
Thank you.